Well, Happy New Year everybody, and welcome to Rick's Scale Model Fix and the first kit review of a brand new year, 2023. So this time we're going to be looking at Revell's brand new 1/32 scale Hurricane Mk.II. Now this kit dropped at the last throes of December before Christmas, and I managed to pop out just after New Year, do a bit of shopping and call in at MJR Hobbies in Hindley, Wigan. Well worth a drop in there and pick this up for quite a reasonable price. They also have a Facebook presence. I think it's Model Kits for Less, so have a look on there and grab yourself a bargain. So without further ado, let's conduct the box top tour. Now this is 32nd scale. It's not my preferred scale. I have limited space here, so I tend to keep to 48th and 72nd. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first 32nd scale kit we've reviewed on the channel. Nonetheless, we've got some lovely digital artwork there of a hurricane in flight. Skill level 5. Revell claim that it's got 118 parts and be 30.5 centimeters long and 38 centimeters wingspan when completed. And your kit number for this one is 04968. Taking a look round the box, on the side we have simple reproduction of the box artwork, Revell label and a little bit of information on this side. On the rear of the box we have some photographs of the prototype model, loads of information, etc. about the type and the paint and the tools that you need. And oops, the other box side is simply a replication of the other with the addition of the contents added on the right hand side. Box end is quite straightforward as well. We just got replication of the artwork and the titling. So without further ado, let's open the box and let's see what we get inside. So in the box we've got some pale grey plastic. Everything looks to be nicely packaged. We have had some damage there already to some of the parts as they're packaged together. So we've got the fuselage and wings, prop wheels and other small items. The main sprue in the kit has got separate flaps and other bits and pieces, rudder, etc. Clear parts and the documentation. So we've got decal sheet and instruction booklet. Taking a look through the instruction book, it's quite a weighty document, and there's 35 pages. Glossy, well printed. Opening the instruction book, we've got some pictorial information that could be useful during the build, so have a read through. Got some of the icons there that are going to be used throughout the build, so might be worth just refreshing your memory and familiarising yourself with those. Then we have the paint charts. So Revell still insisting on promoting their own brand. There's nothing wrong with that, but these day and age, with the vast array of paint manufacturers out there, I think starting to mess about with 33% of one, 33% the other, 34% of another is pushing it a little bit. We shouldn't have any problems cross-referencing the paints for this model, as it looks as though it's in standard RAF paint colours. That continues on page 6, and then we start with the part map. We've got the fuselage halves, frame A and B, the wings C and D, and then we're on to the main sprues in the kit. And it's interesting to note that we've got some blacked out squares and shapes there, so it'll be interesting to see what other versions Revell are planning for us, and we'll have a look at what those parts are when we come to look at the sprues. There's not a massive amount of parts contained in this kit, so it'd be interesting to see whether that limits the detail, but straight away we're in with the pilot seat on page 11, stage 1. That looks to be quite well detailed, being made up of a number of parts. Stage 2 looks at the rear bulkhead and adding some pilot's armour before the floorboards and the beginning of the cockpit scaffolding comes together. That's continued over the page 12, and it's looking to be quite a detailed cockpit once that's built up. There's handy little diagrams with arrows showing where everything goes, so you shouldn't have any alignment issues, and it really does look to be quite comprehensively detailed there. Got rudder pedals going in, seat armour and backrest, and another little diagram at the bottom here just showing where everything goes. Further detail added to the now comprehensively built up cockpit tub before we see the instrument panel in stage 20, and it does look as though the decals are supplied for that. That instrument panel is then added to the cockpit tub along with the gun sights, and then we have what looks to be a section of engine, and that is supposedly just looking at that to add the exhaust through the holes. Some simple sidewall detail that will look good painted up being added to the starboard fuselage side, and again over on stage 26 we've got some smaller details being added to the other fuselage before that's joined together. Then we've got some interesting information here where it says temporarily attach the one part canopy, and we've got this upper cowling that goes on the front end, so let's hope that joins quite nicely. We don't want any unsightly seams in this area of the model. Turning the page and we see construction of the main landing gear bay, and that's quite a busy area on the Hurricane, and that looks to be replicated quite well in the kit as we make our way through. And at the bottom of page 19, stage 37, we see the introduction of assembly of the wings. So these are two lower sections joined to a centre section and two upper surfaces being added with some little notes saying open the holes if the gun camera is used. Repeated in stage 41 for the opposite side, all coming together, and then you've got the leading edge inserts for the cannon's landing lights, etc. That's repeated in stage 44 before the completed lower wing section is added to the waiting fuselage. And then we've got indications of further versions here in stage 46 because we've got a separate belly plate and a separate cowling, so we've got a tropical version coming, and I would guess there at perhaps a Sea Hurricane as well. Tail wheel and other smaller details, and we've got some notes there just to shave off 2mm at the edge, an angle. We've got the introduction at the bottom of page 23 of some of the radiators and intakes that are found on the undersurface of the wing. Radiator baths, and they're coming into place there and added in stage 51. Bottom of page 24, stage 52, we've got a diagram just showing that we can have the radiator doors open or closed. Rudder's two parts, which is separate, so that could be posed deflected if that's your preferred display method, and along with elevators and tail planes, which could be posed in a more fitting environment if you wish, such as drooped or neutral, if that's again your preferred wish. Stage 60, page 26, we've got an arrangement at the front of the airframe, so we've got that oil deflection plate and a cowling that goes on to the top. Now there's our questions there as to which one you need to do. Now we'll have a look at the options at the back of the instruction book to see which one is for which version. Tail wheel making a show, being added, quite straightforward. I won't add it at this stage of the build though, I'd add it after painting and decaling, that's going to be broken off. Main gear coming in, stage 69. Ailerons look to be separate pieces again, so they could be deflected even though they'd probably be in a neutral position on a static airframe. Got landing flaps, not sure whether those would be commonly seen open on the ground, but you can either have those open or closed, and then it's onto the exhaust stacks in stage 75. So again, there's options there for the option you're building in the kit, so check the back of the booklet to make sure you're using the right ones for your kit. Got pilot's foot rests and pitot tubes coming in, page 78, step 78 on page 29. Over the page we've got remove the temporary attached canopy, and then you've got the choice of open or closed. Propeller and spinner coming on in stage 82, quite straightforward, and stage 83 is the radio mast and position light to complete your Build. Slightly disappointed with Revell that there's only 2 options in the kit. So we've got Hurricane Mk.II F-79 Squadron, Royal Air Force, Fairwood Common, South Wales, July 41. And that's in dark green, dark earth over sky. Nice diagram showing where everything goes. And the second one is a Hurricane Mk.II F-253 Squadron, Royal Air Force, Haberstow, England 41, and that's in overall night. So that would be quite a challenging build in 32nd scale to get that black looking right. Back page is blank. So all in all, not an overly complicated build, comparable to a 48th scale kit in my opinion. So let's have a look at the decals and see what they're like. The decal sheet is well printed, it's got matte carrier film, not really much information as to who's printed it other than it's saying it's printed in Italy, so that could be Zanchetti or Cartograph. Nothing much to say, the colours look okay, they don't feel too raised on the sheet and they are well printed. Turning our attention to the plastic parts, and these are sprue A and B, the fuselage sides. And the first thing everyone's going to ask is, what does the fabric covering look like on the rear of the airframe? And to be honest, it doesn't look too bad. The tooling looks reasonable, doesn't seem to be too much in the way of any moulding flaws or sink marks in the fuselage sides, but there is a little bit of flash and a bit of roughness to the runners, but it doesn't look as though it's come over to the parts on these frames, and it has got a slight texture finish to it, which I don't think is a bad thing. It helps paint adhere a little bit better, but overall quite subtle, doesn't look overscaled. Perhaps some of the engine fasteners do a little bit. And on the blind side we've got ejector pin marks, unfortunately around the sidewalls of the cockpit. And realistically, are you going to see any of that? Probably not. So just a close up there of that fabric effect if the camera can pick it up. But quite pleasing couple of sprues there. Sprues C and D are the wings, and again these make good use of raised detail where needed, and the panel lines are absolutely gorgeous. They are really crisp and consistent throughout the wings. They don't fade in or out around some of the curved edges as sometimes you get to expect. So that's one set, and there's the other, so perhaps we have got different options coming. So that raised detail will certainly look nice and give the surface a bit more of an interesting finish. Blind side, we've got a few ejector pin marks in some horrible areas there that might be visible, so just take care while you're putting your wings together, make sure that they don't affect or interfere with the fit of the parts. And indeed we've got the Revell copyright logo and date on the inside of the wing there. So this is sprue E, and the first thing we're going to look at is the instrument panel, which is totally devoid of any dial detail, relying on those supplied decals. I'm sure modellers of this scale, if you've got any of the air-scale instrument dials and bezels and things, that'll look a lot better than the kit supplied decals. So we've got that belly insert and this extensive scaffold framework for the cockpit. That's going to take some careful clear up, so using your single side cutters there so that you don't snap any of this delicate scaffolding work. We've got the pilot seat there as well, floorboards for the cockpit and the gun ports, elevators, and the exhaust stacks are contained on this sprue. There's a bit of flash which is quite surprising on the rudder pedals and just creeping in on some of the parts on this, which is a bit disappointing for a brand new release kit. So it'll be interesting to see how the other sprues stack up. Sprue F, and straight away we've got a fair degree of flash on the sprues here and on some of the parts. Again, disappointing for 2022 tooling. Typical of Revell though. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Revell. I love the subjects that they cover, but I hate building them. Clean-up time is usually extended. Again, we've got some flash creeping in on this pilot seat, and again it just slows the build down. It's nothing that's too drastic, and it's easily cured and worked with, just with care, with a couple of sanding sticks and a file. So there's the first indication of another version, as we have the belly insert for a Sea Hurricane with that arrestor gear recess there. So that'll be interesting to see, and we have those rudder halves making an appearance along with those landing flaps and ailerons. Sprue G, we've got the prop, which exhibiting some sink marks at the base of the blades, and the wheels, which are quite basic. We might have some, we've got some hubs there to set in, but there's no weight on wheels. And we do have the appearance of some more flash, and that's on quite a thin part, so that's going to be take time to clean up, so you don't want to damage that fine plastic work on whatever that part is, and in fact that's actually damaged as well. Got other areas there, all look clean and tidy. There's that tail arrestor gear for the Sea Hurricane. So all in all, not too bad, but slightly disappointing for a brand new kit. Sprue I has the inserts and some really horrible cannon barrels. They are just awful, unfortunately, as I have to say that. So Revell, nice subject. It's let down by your tooling. You do need to address this, I think. Apart from that, surface detail is really nice. Not got much in the way of matrix detail on those radiators that I can see, which is again, might be there, but I just can't see it at the moment. I don't know if the camera will magnify it and pick it up. I've only got my reading glasses on, not my model making glasses. Spinner looks nice, and some other bits and pieces, and then we've got all this flash on the sprues. I can deal with flash on the sprues, it's when it transfers to the part. It's just really softly moulded, and if they do release a Mk.II, which I think they do with the inclusion of these, you're going to need to replace those gun barrels, those cannon barrels, with a master set, I think. Thankfully the clear parts are well moulded, and there's that single piece canopy and the split one, landing lights, navigation lights, centre section. Be interesting to see what that's for. Didn't spot that in the instructions. Landing lights and things. No flash really, apart from just on the edge of this canopy, and the framework is quite fine, and it isn't raised at all, so you're going to need a masking set for this one, guys. I think you're not going to be able to trace around that with a knife blade. Well, there we have Revell's brand new 1/32 scale Hawker Hurricane Mk.II. Overall, slightly disappointed with some of the flash that we've seen in evidence in this kit. Obviously other kits may not have that flash present. Should we really be looking at flash in 2022, 2023? I don't think so. Revell, if you can improve your tooling and your production, then I think you've got a winner here. A little bit limited, some of the parts are really soft, but at the retail price Revell are offering this kit, it's certainly affordable compared to something that Tamiya, Trumpeter, etc. would produce. Is there still room in the market for a 1/32 scale state-of-the-art Hawker Hurricane? The answer has to be yes. So until next time everybody, look after yourselves, take care and stay well.